Del Valle turns on it. Right field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Have yourself a day. Francisco Del Valle. A multi-home run game.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Svetich, with co-host Chuck Polarek. Polarek, how are we doing?
I'm all right. How about you?
Good. How was your week of watching RailCats baseball?
Awful.
Well, let's just repeat the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we see the 4-game series against Lake Country that went through Monday through Thursday. They won game 1 8-5, then lost 9-1, lost 5-0, and then Thursday they lost 4-3. Then they go to Kane County. They win an exciting game on Friday, winning 10-7. Saturday they lose 8-1, and then today they lose 10-6, which is Sunday. When this comes out, it'll probably be Monday or Tuesday. I'm not sure exactly when this is going to be. I would say that the Kane County series was a little bit more entertaining than Lake Country series, just because we saw a little bit more scoring in 2 games than we did in Lake Country. But again, same thing on repeat. Starting pitching does well. I mean, we saw Anders Diaz go 8 innings. We saw Peyton Long go 8. Oh, I think Anders went 7, but Peyton Long went 8 innings. You just didn't get the offensive support that you needed in Saturday's game. Today you have the offensive production, but then you have a couple bad innings, and it just kind of unravels itself. At Lake Country, it was just one of those really good game, no offense, and then another game that could have gone either way, and it just didn't go the RailCats' way.
Yeah, I would there was a couple of things that kind of jumped out at me. Umpiring was pretty decent for Lake Country. That was nice. Apparently they were warned about me being loud.
Yes.
So that was me and Paulie. So that was interesting to see that apparently our names are getting around. And it was I don't know. You win one, and it seems like if you go back to last year when we started out the season, we lost the first game, we would win the next 2, lose the first, win the next 2. Now we're on the opposite side of that. We win the first, we lose the rest. Win the first, we lose the rest. And it's like, why? Is the other team doing their homework and coming back and okay, we're ready for these guys? Or is it that we're just like, hey, we won one and then we're done? So who knows? I can tell you this: the Lake Country guys' papers were flying all over
Yes.
the place. So they definitely have some hitting sheets on us and some pitching sheets on us. So they're definitely doing their homework, which is it's interesting to see that side. So that was one. Another thing was the Dockhounds were very interested in our Monday promotion. They must not have been interested in the game, but they were asking, so you get all the hot dogs you want on a Monday for how much? $18. Oh, that's a great deal. Yep, it is. So apparently we have some pretty good promotions compared to the rest of the league.
Yeah, I would say so.
So that was my my kind of thing with that with Kane County. That was rough. We could have. I mean, every game it was like, okay, we could do this. Pitching is good. They blow up an inning. I thought we were going to lose it on Friday.
Oh yeah, that was probably the highlight of that. Not one just because that was my first road trip going to King County and experiencing that, but just the pure sheer my stomach was overturning nervousness with 2 outs left in the 9th inning, and me and LG's dad are sitting there going, why don't they change the pitcher? Why don't they change the pitcher? And you're like, what are you gonna do at this point? Like, there's no one warming up. Like, you just gotta let it go. And them, scoring those 4 runs with 2 outs, you're just thinking it's just all just gonna come falling apart, taking a huge lead, and then getting some insurance runs, and it just was about to all just come up, just kaboom.
Start having flashbacks to that home game against Milwaukee.
Yeah, so I would say probably, I mean, obviously there were some better games like in there. Uh, I would say even the Thursday 4-3 loss against like Country was a good game. I mean, because it was a little bit low scoring, but I think just the pure sheer emotion of like the roller coaster of the season, that was probably
Yeah.
the one like, oh wow, we're gonna blow this, and luckily we didn't.
Right.
Um, there's not much to take. I mean, other than today, we gain the lead and we have a couple bad innings and it just kind of travels itself in together. Jose Contreras hits his 2 home runs in this game, and he has 8 home runs on the year, and 6 of them come from Kane County. So, I mean, I guess at this point, we should just have every Kane County pitcher just go to any other ballpark or any other team when we're
Yep.
playing the RailCats and just have them pitch against Jose Contreras. I don't have to pitch by anybody else, just Jose Contreras, because he just seems to absolutely annihilate them. Uh,
That's interesting, isn't it? That you
yeah,
have one guy that could pick up on that, you know?
yeah, exactly. Uh,
Uh, so this was your first time going
yes,
to an opposing team's field in the association. There we
yes.
go.
If we
There
can
we
read that
go.
without my computer screens,
Yep.
Polly, thank you for the beautiful gift of this uh King County welcoming first game to Cougars game. What surprised me, well, I should say reword this. I was at the the team store. And the team store, I'm surprised how small it is. I was expecting a little bit bigger. It's not as wide open as the steel yards. The steel yard one is pretty big for a team store. But how just kind of small and compact it was. But they had a lot of different things. But I didn't see that they had this, which was really interesting. But Paulie, being the Paulie he is, he made it and he gave it to me, took pictures, and I thanked him for that. It's fun to see those kinds of things, and I think that's something that's entertaining as well. Is really how much are they making off of that? Probably not much, if any, but it's just cool to have like, hey, this is my first time going to this game, and you kind of feel that more
Right.
professionalism
Well,
in that
I think
aspect
that
of it.
so something like that, I think is going to last you a lot longer than
Hmm.
a Cougars squish ball, right?
Yes.
That's something that you're gonna put on your desk, you're gonna put up on the wall, or you're gonna take care of that because of the way that it's presented.
Hmm.
Not because it came from somebody or whatever, but because it is a presentable piece and it looks real nice. Makes me wonder why we don't do something like that in Gary. You know, it cost is minimal, right? And it looks really nice. Um, so you get to it was interesting. I didn't know that this was going to be the first away game
Yep.
that you'd been to, right? I don't even think I realized that we were maybe halfway there,
Hmm.
right? And so we get there, you get to walk through the stadium. What's your thoughts when you show up to Kane County?
See, my thoughts of showing up to Kane County was one that when they were an affiliated ball, at one time they were affiliated with the Cubs. And and I'm not a Cubs fan, I'm a White Sox fan, but most of my family are Cubs fans. But seeing the Kyle Schwarber, his name and his picture up on the front entrance, there's a handful of the players that have played in that building, and then even with the uh, Diamondbacks. I'm pretty sure Harrison Francis played there when he was in the Diamondbacks organization. So, but just knowing that there's been MLB players that have been in that building now, just the pure tradition or the atmosphere of knowing at one point most or some MLB players were playing on this field at the level that some of these players are at. So
Right.
the expectation is going to be a little bit higher as far as like value and what they got going on there. And it being King County, they lead the American Association attendance, I think, almost every year.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, you pay $10 to park, but it's not like a crappy parking lot that just threw in the middle of nowhere. Like it's all brick. Now, granted, you don't want to wear high heels because you may fall and break an ankle, but you walk in and you get through and the atmosphere, the buzz of everyone just talking, having conversations, and you get the smell of the food. The vendors are right there. Some are obviously out, but some are underneath. You have a whole freezer full of a beer cave they had, and then you had your uh food trucks, and then off in the right field you had like a whole play center for kids, and the grassy berms, everyone's just laying around, and it just it felt really nice, and it felt like they maintain a high standard, which is not something, I don't say that we don't get at the Steel Yard. It's just it was nice to be in a ballpark that was full and it
Right.
wasn't dead silence. Like I didn't catch myself paying attention to the PA announcer because I there was conversations going on. You had conversation going on with some guy that you randomly, met there, and he had a friend come from Germany. LG's dad randomly met someone behind us, and he was talking to him the entire
From
game. Like,
Bulgaria. Yeah.
so it's just it's one of those. It felt like I went into a ballpark expecting, it was like I went to Wrigley or I went to Guaranteed Rate and had that
Right.
kind of
Right.
atmosphere to it.
When I go there, I typically go to certain section or whatever.
Mhm.
There's the things I always eat the same things there. I'm a creature of habit, a creature of routine. And what I found was that, when we walked in and we made that walk down the first base side and stuff, you had people that were bringing blankets,
Mhm.
that had like picnic baskets, that had, I mean, these were people that you can tell they prepared and made this into a big thing,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't just, hey, I got tickets to a baseball game. Let's jump in the car. Let's go. This was people bringing their family, bringing their loved ones, uh, you know, making a big deal out of it. And to me, it was like, wow, that makes it kind of extra special, when you know that people are doing that.
Yeah, it turns it into a family-friendly environment. Like I
Yeah.
think that's something that, last year when I was asked through Taylor, what can they do differently, at the Steel Yard? And I'd never been to another ballpark, so I can't really make that I can tell you what they do at MLB parks, but I can't tell you what they do in another American Association,
Right.
walking away from that. Now, granted, I understand that the way their berms are, the grass berms are, they're a little bit more slanted, so you can't really have that playing atmosphere like you do at the Steel Yard where they're throwing balls and stuff like that. But I think a better way to, I don't know, um, utilize those berms instead of kids throwing the balls in the field every other at bat or whatever the case may be, making it a picnic area
Yeah.
where you're bringing blankets and you're bringing those kind of supplies to where it's a family friendly atmosphere where they're sitting there, and as much as I like having like the open space because I don't like really seeing behind a net. My biggest thing is not so much like roping where we normally sit off, but where that grass berm is. Because one, you're protecting kids who are having fun playing, but then you also protect the integrity of the game because then you don't have football fields flying on the field or baseball fields or squishy, tennis balls or whatever the case may
Right.
be.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot of work that may be done, but I just think that everything kind of flowed a little bit smoother
Yeah.
there. If
Yeah.
that,
You didn't have nearly and I guess that's the trade-off, right? So when you go to the steel yard, you got interaction with the players. You get people wanting baseballs and what have you, and getting those souvenirs to take home in most cases. Kane County, you didn't have that.
mhm.
Kane County, they got ushers in every section that in between innings, they go down there. They help you find your seat, but they don't have anybody trying to, hey, can I get a ball? No, you got to go find your seat, and that kind of thing. So it was very well disciplined, I guess is the word I would use for that. Um, but then you had the net,
Mhm.
so if somebody wanted to throw you a ball, it was kind of a bit of a hassle. And for me, when I'm trying to watch something and I've got that net in the way, it gives me a really bad headache
Yeah.
because my eyes are trying to focus on two things at once and it just can't I can't see, I talk to you, you can't see the ball. It makes it hard to see the ball. So, I pros and cons, you know. personality for the field, I think, is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're averaging close to through 4 or 5,000, actual people, not just like smudged on Point Streak, because I feel like some numbers a little bit smudged. But even when you go from 5 to 6,000 to 10,000, like obviously you're gonna be more disciplined because you don't want 5,000 kids running down to the field saying,
Right,
"I want a ball, I want a ball, give me a ball." Like
right.
there's two different atmospheric
Yep,
and different things you see at the ballpark just because of at the steel yard you can do that because the interactions aren't going to be as high as what you would get in Kane County. Like
right.
understand, you're taking 5,000 people less and it's smaller, more of an intimate atmosphere versus Kane County where it's a little bit bigger and more people there. So I think you get a nice balance of actually people that want to watch the game and understand the game, and then you have your casual fans as versus like the Steelyard. I feel like you have more of your casual fans that just bring their kids to like, okay, go run the berm. I'm gonna watch a baseball game.
Yeah.
Like that's just the different feel. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying what we
No.
get at the Steelyard is wrong. I'm just saying that's the two differences.
Yep. Different personalities, right?
Yeah.
One's not right, one's not wrong, just different personalities.
Yeah.
So this is a problem that I had at the game yesterday. Sitting in the second row. Thanks, Paulie, for the tickets. Paulie, you would have went nuts. People sitting in front of us, three older women that I don't think they watched a single pitch, and they were just jibber jabbering like crazy. So trying to pay attention to the game while you've got, I don't know why they're in the front row. I really don't. Like they could have been sitting all the way in the back in the corner and enjoyed the game just as much. You know, uh, stuff like that. It's like, okay, come on. You don't have to be so loud. I appreciate you talking, but you don't have to talk the whole game. you know, that was that. I thought that was kind of funny. I After a while it got to be where it was kind of amusing, and I was like, all right, this isn't going to stop. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
live with it. Uh, had a heckler a couple seats down from me that was going at the RailCats pretty hard, and this is I really kind of analyzed how I felt about this when it was happening, because I was like, there's so many things I want to say right now, but my team is not performing.
Hmm.
I can't say anything. I can't heckle back.
Yeah, I think that was I know when we went Friday, we started off with Del Valle 3-run home run and we're up cheering and clapping, but like at the back of my mind, I'm like, should I really be being this loud? Because I know eventually it's gonna get to the point where it's gonna get really bad. And if I stand up and I start clapping, I know I'm gonna get someone to say something to me. Luckily I didn't, which was a surprise. I was kind of
Right.
surprised by that. So it kind of made me feel like there are really good fans there, but I
Yeah.
don't know how much of them are like devoted to the team. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
if you were to say something like that at the Steelyard, like obviously you would probably say something. Chuck would say not Chuck. Paulie would say something. There would be people that would answer right back, and I just didn't feel like we got that. And obviously you did
So
with the
so
one
I did
guy.
that day. Uh Yesterday I did. There was a play where we had man on first and second. I think we had one out. Hit to left field. The guy goes to catch the ball. He dives. He rolls, and then he reaches behind himself. You can't really see, but he reaches behind himself to grab the ball to
Hmm.
throw it. And the umpire at second base called him out. Well, they threw the ball to third and tagged third. And you were in this situation where it wasn't really fair.
Hmm.
Um, if it was a dropped ball, they would have made it to third with no problem. But because the umpire called him out, they went back to second.
Yeah.
They were about halfway or a third of the way or what have you, right? So umpires huddle. They come back and they decide, hey, we're going to advance the runners for second and third. It was a dropped ball. Those fans went crazy. Now, here's the catch, or here's the kicker. right before that, I am yelling and screaming at the umpires that they better get this right.
Yeah.
And I've got people telling me that I need to get my glasses fixed. Once the umpires changed that, I was more than willing to hand out my glasses to whoever the wise butt was that said that, so that they could be able to get a better view of the game.
Yeah,
So we did go back and forth.
yeah, that on that catch, I didn't see it clearly watching it the first time, and then they replayed it back, and I went, how did you not catch that he didn't catch it? Like, I'm sorry, but if your mid is forward and you reach back to grab
Right.
it, like, yeah, you didn't catch that. Like there wasn't, it wasn't like a little quick like snap. Like the best way I described it, I still remember this. I don't know how I remember this, but I was playing Little League and I was playing second. Catcher threw it on a stolen base. I dropped the ball to a cloud of dust. The ball was sitting right next to me. I picked it up and I acted like I tagged the dude, and the guy called me out, and the third base coach is like, no, he dropped the ball. Like, I didn't see it. Like, there's a cloud of dust. You weren't going to be able to see that. But clearly in the outfield, there's no dust out there, and you reach back for something, and then you
Right.
then you hold it up with this. You didn't even reach into your mitt. You held it up. Like,
Right.
I, that I know
Yeah.
that wasn't the best game because Basabi got, I can't remember it. Basabi got called out. Oh, it was
The
the
bunt.
bunt and with the baseline. I didn't see an issue with it at all.
I think he got called out because he stepped on the plate when he was hitting the ball.
Gotcha. Okay, that that
I think
that
that's
part
what it
wasn't.
was. He squared away, and it was either that or it was he got in the way of the catcher trying to get the ball.
Yeah, because I think it seemed like the way they made it seem on AA was that he was arguing that he was in the Bates path, or he was didn't, but it wasn't. He wasn't way out in the grass. Like, he was just towards the grass a little bit, but the way he bunted it, he leaned forward. It wasn't like he strictly got in the way. He worked his way back. So like that's the big thing when
Right.
you get into that. So it's just one of those like, I,
Beautiful bunt.
yeah,
Should have been there. I mean, I I haven't realized how many technicalities that there are in baseball.
yeah, and
You know,
as much as I like to argue umpires, ball strikes, this and that, there's just so much they have to know.
right?
And it's a bang bang play, or you have to make a judgment call. Like, this isn't the MLB. Like, they're not going to really be held accountable for it. They're probably lacking in what they have, anyways. But sometimes, as you say, you heckle them to make them better. Um, but just sometimes it feels like they'll say one thing and it goes the other way, or they'll get together and just it always seems to really be ticky tacky and not like really straightforward with
Yeah.
the decisions on certain things. Like balls and
Well,
strikes,
that
you're never gonna be able to answer that one because it's balls and strikes, like that's just. But like there's some other things where just like I don't know if you can really, like, that could have been a little bit better, but it wasn't. But I know
Yeah,
it's
well,
one of
I
the.
thought I was impressed that they got that call right after talking.
Yeah, yeah,
And I guess there's some liberty to what they do, to ramifications to that play. And they did make it fair.
yeah,
Now, with that being said, I think it was with no outs. We had bases loaded. I think it was with no outs, and I think we scored one run.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, if we don't score like anything on this, then we probably should just hang up our cleats and go home and say, hey, you guys can have this one.
Yeah, that's always been an issue. We get runners in scoring position, and I think there was one game over a series. We had like 18 runners left on base. Like that's potentially 18 runs we could have scored, even if you cut that in half. That's 9 runs.
I've been paying attention to our hits, right? And I'll look
Yeah.
at the scoreboard and I'll see that we're losing 8-1,
Hmm.
right? But the other team has 10 hits and we've got 7 hits. You mean to tell me that those 3 extra hits knocked in all those runs? No. It's we're matching hit for hit.
I
We're
don't
just not putting them
I
together.
I don't think the issue is that we're not matching hits for hits, but for example of, all right, we get 2 outs. We finally get a runner on second and third. Well, there's already 2 outs. So
Right.
anything that gets in play, it's normally, we're going to match them in that aspect of it, as versus vice versa of having, quote unquote bases loaded. I'm pretty sure most of them were all on singles and only converting one run out of all that. Like
One by
that's
a walk.
yeah, one came in by via a walk. So it's more of a less of not so much the hits, but it's the runners left on base that I like to look at. Not so much the
Yeah,
hits because you're right. You can have 20 hits and score one run.
right.
I,
And I think we're on that side all the time. It's
it's
like, hey,
just
we got 8 hits this game, 1 run.
yeah.
There's
That's
nothing.
that's one thing that we're just not going to ever really figure out. I mean, that's maybe a discussion in the off season if I happen to get like Lamar on or something again and just kind of talk to him about what he's seen, or maybe getting Andrew on at the end of the year, just kind of talk to him about what he's being close net to the team and his kind of evaluation. I mean, obviously within combined corners of he works for the
Right,
team, so we can't fully throw anyone under the bus. Not saying that he would. I don't think he's that type of person. Uh, but getting kind of away from the baseball sides of things and just kind of looking at, we know how this team is. It's halfway through, or we're All-Star break coming up. Uh, it's going to be very tough for them. They're going to have to turn something around. They're going to have to go on an unbelievable run to get into the playoffs. Like it's just that's how it is at this point. What are some what are some things I know we had discussion about, okay, Friday they had the tie-dye t-shirt night for their jerseys and
right.
they had tie-dye t-shirts. They're doing the auction. There's not a sponsor. I don't think it's going to a chip
Bobbleheads.
bobbleheads, stuff like that. I know we made the discussion. I know you talked about was it you said Riley Reith was talking about a vest style jersey for an auction. I know you said something about St. Jude doing something, more auctions. That's for charity. Obviously, that all goes to the charity, how that all works. But my question is, I said, you make $6,000 on some jerseys, right? And you make pure profit, and you're like, what does that just go to Joe? Yeah, you're right, whatever, but the case may be. But it could spiral into something else as far as bobbleheads. I think the last time they've had a bobblehead was in 2019. I don't remember who it was, but that was the last time they had a bobblehead. We don't get I don't see the promotion giveaways to be really something to look forward to that much anymore,
Right.
other than the jersey and the cards. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's another day where it's just like, okay, I have to be at the ballpark really early for this. Is adding another jersey, a jersey auction, just a normal jersey, doesn't whatever it could be, like even if it was like Star Wars night, have a special jersey of some sort, Harry Potter night or Wizard night. I think you have to trademark that, whatever the case may be, or just some random day having a jersey, having that money funneled back into the team as far as promotions or staffing, or when you think that might help you know, uplift some of those other promotional values to bring more people into the ballpark. Because really, that's what you get is more people are going to come to the ballpark if they hear, hey, there's a bobblehead going in Gary tonight. They don't
Right.
care that's in Gary. It's a bobblehead. Like, who doesn't want a
Right.
bobblehead?
Well, yeah. So I think that first of all, if you go back the past couple of years, I really liked some of the promotions that we've
Mhm.
had. The jerseys are great. The fact that like I'm looking right now at one of the jerseys in Kane County. It's at $120 right now. It's
Mhm.
online for 3 days. So you don't get that jersey the same day that they play. It also doesn't come autographed. You've got to go pick it up.
Mhm.
It's these other ones are making decent money off these jerseys, and they don't get the experience that we do in Gary.
Mhm.
So the first jersey auction this year, um, we went down to do our thing. I got a couple of them, and it was a mess. Um, the players took their jerseys off. They signed them. They hung up on the railing. We also had fireworks going on that night, um, and you had people throwing the tennis balls, and so you had three things going on. Um, they you could show them the paper, and they'd grab the jersey off the railing and hand it to you. But it was like, okay, I really like that when you win the auction, you get to go out on the field. You get to meet the players or say hi to the players or whatever. You can bring a baseball with you and have them all sign the baseball. You get this added experience that people don't realize is a huge selling point to getting those jerseys, right? You don't get that experience at the other stadiums. To me, I will go and I will buy a jersey or win an auction every time just so that I get that experience of getting a player that I like, getting to go down there and talk to him for 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? Getting to know him better. Um, so when you know that you've got kind of this thing that's working, why not take more advantage of it, right? So look at the cost of what the jersey actually runs. Let's say they run $60 a piece. Okay. I don't think they do, but let's say that they do. You sell, you're not flooding the market with RailCats jerseys. That's not happening. You know, you have your diehard people that are going to make sure that they get one of every kind that we have, and what have you. But when all is said and done, you are making a profit off of it. Okay. Why not take that $10 a jersey, $20 a jersey, $50 a jersey, whatever it is that you're making profit, and roll it into something else, or do it a couple of times and roll it into something else? Absolutely. But I would like to see it roll into something. Grow the promotions. What I don't want to see is, and I had found this out a couple years ago, last year. So I used to always do the tennis ball toss, and I funded all of my food for the year and all of my tickets for the year and all of that stuff through tennis ball toss. I mean, one game winning 170, 180 bucks, and I won 9 out of 10 games. So I was constantly bringing home, I would sit there and figure it out. Okay, tickets ran me 20 bucks. I wound up spending $60 in food. So that's $80. I walked away with a $20 profit, a $40, $60 profit for the day. Let's come back tomorrow and do it again.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that being said, there was a game where nobody made it in the swimming pool. And I was like, okay. So the next day, that's going to be a lot more money. So I'm going to go out there. I wind up winning the next day, and the pot is like 110 bucks. And I'm like, okay, what happened to all the money from the day before that nobody won? Just disappears. So I would think that something like that money would go towards more promotions. When nobody makes it in the swimming pool, that money goes to promotions. You are absolutely right. When there's a jersey giveaway, the place is selling out. I mean, not selling out, but the place is packed.
You're going to get
right?
more out of it than you would on a normal Thursday night, or I would say more of like a Tuesday. Let's say a Tuesday night, because Wednesday you have pierogies, which bring a lot of people in.
Taco
Which
Tuesdays.
Taco Tuesdays do, but I'm just at $5 margarita. But I think just the $1 pierogies. I mean, what last Wednesday they sold 1,200. Like that's a crazy amount of pierogies that were sold in the first place, and they're really good pierogies. It's not like they're like, oh, I could go without. They're really good, but
right.
Doing it on a Friday, you're already going to bring people in for the fireworks and community nights. Like, there's just no matter what. Saturday, you normally get the sign, they'll sign, and it's Saturday. Sunday is fun day, run the bases, that kind of stuff. So you're going to bring those. I'm just saying, if you were to do a jersey auction on a random Tuesday, you're more likely going to bring more people in than you would do on a normal Tuesday or Wednesday.
Even if you didn't do a jersey auction on a Tuesday, or I should say, even if you don't bring in more people on that Tuesday, right? You're still
roping some kind of
jerseys.
Yeah.
Right. And if those jerseys are costing you significantly less than the $60, then you're making a profit.
Yeah.
And you're getting some guy like me who's not going to go into the store because I already have the sweatshirts. I already have the t-shirts. I already have the hats. Right. You're getting me to spend an extra $60. And coming home with a souvenir that is going to go in the collection,
Yep.
right? Um, so I don't there I think there's many ways for them to do that, but we definitely need to have better promotions. Um,
Yeah, I, I'm really thinking this year we really don't. I know you said for Bark in the Park they didn't have really anything for the dogs and they were more concerned about signing the waivers.
right.
They've only done it once this year and they're only doing it one time.
Yeah,
I,
there's a lot of different things that they could do to
I
build things up, you
yeah,
know?
like I said, I just this year I don't really know any other than like the scarf they gave out. They didn't do anything for Star Wars Night. I don't think they've really done anything for Star Wars Night the past couple years. But what other than the jerseys and the team cards and the magnet at the beginning of the year, like what else is going to really want me to go if I'm not uh, a
Yeah.
normal fan just
I mean, so
going for it?
so when I didn't really follow the RailCats, but
Mhm.
anytime I'd see that there was a jersey that was being given away, but you got to show up to that game.
Yeah,
That became a priority of, hey, I want to go there. Um, Not so much the hats. Not much on the net hats or the foam hats or whatever it is that they do.
I know they've had the trucker hats that style like that they've had.
Yeah,
I know last year they had the straw hats for country night.
right.
I'm just what as a baseball person, when you think baseball and giveaways,
Bobblehead. That's what every.
bobbleheads are a big thing. So like realistically, if they were to funnel all of their time and effort into producing a bobblehead t-shirt or a jersey giveaway and cards, if that's what you're going to give me for promotions, I'll take that versus I think last year they gave away peanut butter. Like
Yeah.
I don't want peanut butter. Like I'm sorry, I just that's just not
So
me.
I grabbed my bag at the beginning of the season, and I was like, what did I finish off the season with? And I'm emptying it out, and 3 jars of peanut butter still in there. And I'm like, I wonder if this stuff's still good.
Yeah.
I'm not like, yeah, I'm not chasing after peanut butter. Um, but here's the thing though, is that something like that is a company that's trying to grow or a company that's trying to get in front of people, and it can be successful.
Yeah, and there I guess I'm not trying to bash the
No, but
promotion
you're not going to go
giveaway.
to a game because they're giving out peanut butter. That's
Yeah,
not going to get you in the door.
you know, if they're gonna have like, if they're gonna want to do a promotion like that, I would rather them have like a stand and them giving away free, and then that you have like that person in front of you just talking about the peanut butter. Like that just seems like
Right.
something you would just want to bring someone and have them have a table set up and say, hey, this is the peanut butter. This is what we're trying to do.
Here's some
Blah
free,
blah. Instead
want some
of
free. Yeah.
here's a peanut butter jar. Enjoy the game. Like I just
Right.
that's to me is a little bit different. I'm just saying you're seeing, you know, Juliet had the Bill Murray bobblehead.
Yep.
I know you traded off with Pat with a Looney Tune bobblehead. Like
Yep.
bobbleheads in baseball are just one of those. Any sports realistically is just like that's iconic. Like as you can see, I have quite a few bobbleheads
Yeah.
of Blackhawk stuff, and I think the this one right here, this one I just got at the team store when I went for St. Patty's Day is just Tommy Hawk and a leprechaun. I'm not saying that they should have bobbleheads lined up to sell at the store. I'm not that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you're able just to funnel a little bit of money into bobbleheads, I would
So
you would
so
see
here
me there 3 hours earlier.
here
Like
was my suggestion, right? Because we did talk to Anthony about this, and he told us what the price of getting bobbleheads were and that kind of thing. And I think that's where we're getting into how can we make money to
yes.
put into a promotion, right? But wouldn't it be awesome to have a Tommy Williams bobblehead
Mm,
where you just revealed that banner out front
yep.
and you put that at the bottom, right? And you've got him with the microphone. Like to me, that would be a classic RailCats bobblehead,
Hmm.
right? That's one of those that you're like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Yeah.
I think you can be very tasteful careful with it
Hmm.
and have it be one of those really nice collector items.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
think
have
that
to
would.
be the first 15,000 people in the, it 500 of them,
Hmm.
and have it sponsored by somebody. You put their logo at the bottom or something like that.
Yeah,
You know, have him wear the only mention of Railcats should be at the bottom, and then have him wearing a Railcats hat.
yeah.
Something like that. That's it. It's but there's a huge lead time in making that happen. And
Yeah, I
you know,
mean, granted, I understand there's more to it than you have to find, obviously you have to find a picture of Tommy. You gotta have to make a company to make one for him, and so like I get it, and maybe that's something they could be working towards. It's just I think having what we're on a 5 year gap now. I understand like the team took 2020 off, but you're in a 5 year gap where you're not having a bobblehead, and you have like Kane County. It's like, we got the funds, and we'll throw Santa Claus in there, and he's gonna wear whatever Santa Claus outfit he has, and we'll throw a bobblehead on the first.
now let's preface this with the fact that there's some other factors to that. First of all, I don't know where their parking money goes, but when you have 15,000 people at $10 a piece, that's $150,000. Now,
Yeah,
let's also mention that they didn't pay their bills and they almost got kicked out of that stadium last year. So, I mean, you really don't know. Is it that they have money and they didn't want to spend it? Is it that they're putting does this money for parking not go there? What have you? I know that in Chicago, they charge $3 for parking. That parking is actually a
uh,
fee that Rosemont
yeah.
collects, so Chicago doesn't collect it. So there's a lot of things that we don't
No,
we
and
don't know
I'm
all the
not.
facts to.
That's I'm not. I was just saying that they're able to randomly throw a bobblehead together, and it's
Right.
been 5 years. There, and if you were going to argue the fact of like, well, there really hasn't been a Railcats player or anything significant for the Railcats to make a
Yeah,
bobblehead,
Tommy.
you got Tommy, and then you also have Greg. Like I know how
Yeah.
we feel about Greg, whatever the case may be. He was the Railcats man for 20 years. He brought 3 championships to this team. Like instead of a shirt that had Railcats in front of the top of it, Taggart 27 and Xfinity on the bottom of it, I would have rather them made 100 bobbleheads of Greg Taggart and said, whoever got the bobbleheads got the bobbleheads. Good for you. Everyone else, sorry for your loss. But
Right. I mean,
that
hey, that's uh, I
those
find
two are significant in that realm to at
right.
least attempt something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so the Taggart thing I think is come and gone.
Yeah,
So
well,
I
yeah,
don't know
that's
that you can necessarily reverse that, right? And the Tommy thing, I think it was late when everything kind of happened with him. This was their way of kind of,
mhm.
hey, paying an homage to the great. Uh, but that being said, I think that you can still do the Tommy bobblehead and make it something
Yeah,
great.
I
You
don't
know,
even you don't even have to. I wouldn't even say if they took a year away from it, even if it's like next year they don't do anything. You would still do it down the road because it's not like Greg's era is a little bit different. Managers, players, their era is a little bit different. But this was a PA announcer. This was a guy that echoed throughout the steel yard that most people will correlate the Railcats with. It
right?
is him. So I think even if you made a special day of it, and
Oh, even
you would be able to you would be able to revive it more than you would a Greg
yeah,
Taggart bobblehead.
you can go back and look. That guy, I didn't. To me, didn't know him, didn't know anything about him really. You go show up to a game, you hear an announcer, you don't think nothing of it.
Hmm.
This was a guy that apparently he had a lot of things to do in the community, a lot of things to do with the newspaper, a lot of things to do with a lot of different parts of um, sports in general, not just Railcats.
Hmm.
And so, because he had his fingers in all of these different things, I think that makes the bobblehead even better, a better decision for that.
Yeah.
And you didn't hand out anything for him, right?
Yeah.
Like
No.
Taggart already. So I think that in a year you can run with that, or next year, I think that would be a great thing to do. I would be excited about it. I would be one of those guys that came an hour early, and if I had to wait in line, would wait in line. You know, to me that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
And to me, if you're going to a Railcats game and you see a line of people that are turning around and going down the street
Hmm.
of people waiting to get in the stadium, that's a good day.
Yeah.
You know,
And granted, the people that, I'll just take this for example, because I know I talked to you about this when I texted you. I'm at work, and before I'm leaving work, I get someone over the walkie going, "Hey, do we sell Railcats gear here or Railcats jerseys?" I'm like, uh, no, they're gonna have to go to the actual they're gonna have to go to the steel yard, but they don't have much jerseys in general. That's another thing is granted, I understand that some people may just want to be going to a game and they don't want to go to the stadium and buy the stuff. They're just going there, whatever the case may be. One, the prices aren't terrible. I think they're better than what you would get just going to a normal retail store. Like
right?
the prices are actually pretty nice for some of the stuff. But the aspect of how many times have we heard that people want some jerseys? Like, granted, I know they were supposed to go through a jersey. I think the entire league was supposed to go through a jersey change. I think New Balance was supposed to kick in, and everyone was supposed to go to New Balance or whatever the case may be. But like, I understand that. I know the Railcats one that I have right there that's kind of hanging down a little bit. I'm pretty sure that one's been sitting in there for a couple years because like some of the logo part of it's like coming off and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, granted, it's not a hot selling item, but just be able to have a jersey.
I have had numerous people. I'm not talking one or two.
Hmm.
I've had numerous people that have I've invited to the stadium that have come from different teams, different affiliations that have said, I can't wait to get some Gary gear.
Hmm.
They go in and they come out with a lanyard and they're like, this is all I can get.
And
They
granted,
don't have, well, here, hold on. They don't have hats in my size. They don't have jerseys in my size. They don't have anything that's my size. I got a lanyard.
I now granted, I do understand that their season window is only a couple months, and they
Right,
probably order only enough to last the entire season. So they're not going to restock a bunch of stuff like hats, certain hats and jerseys. And like, granted, I get that. My aspect of is when you first came in, I think they had a total of 5 jerseys. I think they had a white jersey, a gray jersey, and a green jersey,
yeah.
and they were all like double XL, like things that no one's bought. Like just to like a revamp of like the jerseys. But I understand that they were going through if every if the league was going through a jersey change as far as like brand because
Right.
everyone's like individual. Like if everyone straight through the board was going to New Balance, I understand that you may have to take a year off from it. But I just think that even going to Kane County, like going to their, I know it's later in the year, but not having any certain hats in stock. Like I feel like hats, like especially like worn like new era hats, like the ones they wear on the field. I feel like that should be something they kind of consistently keep in stock because if they have it to where you can buy in the off season and ship it to the house, like they
Right.
should be able to keep it. But I understand that there's more to it than just well, they should have everything in stock. Well, granted, I get they don't,
So
but
that I think those are things that we run across that we should ask that question to the people that know the answers.
yeah.
Hey, why is it that a buddy of mine comes and he's looking for a hat and he can't find his size hat here? That to me, that's like, hey, you're kind of dropping the ball, or somebody is, or that's my perception. Could be wrong, right?
Hmm.
So help me understand why, what happened, what's going on that he can't find a hat, a jersey. You know, uh, I don't like that we've got a guy sitting out front, selling sweatshirts and doing that thing because I'll tell you what, there were numerous times last year where we go through 80-degree days
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden it's like 45 flipping degrees outside and I don't have my sweatshirt and I'm like, got to go to the shop and buy another sweatshirt, and I'm not going to go to that guy and sign up for his, whatever it is and get, I want to go into the shop. I want to have a selection of sweatshirts
Hmm.
that I like, and I want to pick out a new sweatshirt.
Yeah, me working in retail, like I understand like the the ebbs and flows of how the process works. But I feel like even if you go through the season and you have your generic T-shirt or your sweatshirt, because it seemed like they changed the sweatshirt design from year to year, like which is fine. But I feel like you could still keep that stuff in stock. But then, once the year kind of rolls around, you have the best way to describe it is Rockford, the Ice Hogs. They have a garage sale at the end of the year. They basically discount a bunch of stuff and people come in and they buy it.
Right.
So even if you were to keep sweatshirts in stock and you're going to end up having to maybe take a discount out of them, but at least at one point, throughout the season, your fans are going to get what you want out of what they need, and then you can kind of even having a clearance rack of some sort of just items that are getting kind of put out. So like when next year rolls around, if the people don't want to spend the full 80 $90 on a sweatshirt, they can just spend the 60 or 50. I
Right.
mean, realistically, working in retail, most of the stuff that you buy is 60%, 70% markup. So they're not really spending that much money on clothes.
No, you're getting your money's worth, and even if you're selling it at a clearance rate, you're still getting your money out of it.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you see? This is the part that kind of makes me wonder. Why wouldn't you want to see more people in RailCats gear?
Yeah.
Because like so uh here's something that happened this past week. I'm at Jewel Osco, right?
Hmm.
Um sponsor of the RailCats.
Yep.
Right? We hear it all the time. And got this guy bagging my groceries, and he says, "Hey, what baseball team do you like?" And he goes, "Do you like the Cubs or the Sox?" And I said, "Neither."
Neither.
I said, "I like the RailCats." He goes, "Okay, but do you like the Cubs or the Sox?" I said, "Neither. I like the RailCats." And he's like, I went to a RailCats game once, and I said, "Did you enjoy it?" He goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "Well, that's great." You know. And then the guy running the register next, he's like, "Yeah, they just gave us a bunch of tickets while you were gone for 3 days or whatever. They came and gave us tickets to the RailCats game." And the guy's like, he's lying. They didn't do that. He goes, "Yeah, we did. Yeah, they did."
Hmm.
I went out to the car. I grabbed some tickets. I went in there. I gave the guy some tickets. I said, "Here you go. Here's three sets of two. Come
Hmm.
to the steel yard and enjoy yourself." Right? That kid was so happy. I mean, he couldn't believe it. This guy in the line gave me tickets to the Rail Kids. This is going to be great. People don't realize that uh, if you had a Real Cats sweatshirt on, if you had a Real Cats t-shirt on, if you're wearing a Real Cats hat, something like that, the good possibility that either somebody doesn't know
Hmm.
and they say, "Hey, who is that?" And you get to talk about them, or if they know what it is and they're like, "Oh, Rail Cats, how are they doing this year?"
Hmm.
It brings to their mind, it would be nice to go to a game.
Yep. I walk into work and I either have this hat on or I have the green hat that I normally wear on. My lanyard is now RailCats. It flops between hockey season and baseball season, but then when it's colder outside, I have my RailCats sweatshirt on. Like I'm walking into work with all that stuff on. Now, do I get stopped that much about it? No, but at least when I'm at work, people are asking about it amongst like the coworkers and stuff. It's a handful of times I think I saw one kid walk in with a RailCats lanyard, and I was like, "Oh, hey, nice lanyard," and I showed him my lanyard. Like those are that's just
That's
it's
exactly
about trying to build upon what you're already helping with to a certain like as a fan or someone that's covering the team, you want to help the team succeed and get people in, and the more people are aware of it, the more likely they're going to come to it. This isn't a based off of uh it's Gary or not. I think we're past that point. Like there's some people that I still feel that way. They're like, well, it's Gary and I'm not gonna go to Gary. I think we're past that point a little bit. It's just more of a less of like, why should I go to the game? And when I do go to
right,
the game, what kind of experience do I get?
right.
Is it the experience of when you go to Kane County, you have the Christian and Scooby uh
Yeah,
guy with the dog that was on American Got Talent? that's going to bring people in general just to
Right.
see that happening. Not granted, I understand that that's a different budget, but when you keep going to the games and you keep seeing the RailCats relay with little kids putting on big uniforms and running, or the tricycles, like eventually with the people that are going there, it's a
Right.
little monotonous, and then you get people that are return that go every so often, like, oh, didn't I see that last time I was here?
Right.
Sometimes it's good to change things up a little bit to kind of keep people intrigued with it, because half the battle is keeping people entertained,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's
you
what.
gotta. So here's where I think there's a change in mentality. I believe that you put those things, the dizzy bat race, the this,
Mhm.
the that, right? All the things that we constantly go through. It's fine to run through those every game. If your mentality is these guys are only going to go to one game and that's it,
Yeah,
right? But when you cross that threshold of, hey, we've got people coming back, now you have to change things.
yeah.
And I believe that if you are, what do we say our attendance is? 3,000, 4,000 a game?
It's
About right?
around. I think the average is like 2,000 to 2,500.
Really?
I
So
think
that's,
is
I think that's lower than last year. I think that last year
um.
our attendance was averaging like 3,000, 4,000.
I can just look at it right
I
now.
think we're like number three in the league last year.
Yeah, so actually right now we're averaging 3,000 is what we're
3,000.
averaging.
There we
Yeah.
go. So if you're averaging 3,000, I can feel pretty confident that you've got return guys.
Hmm.
It's time to change things up.
Yeah, and granted, I mean, so, I think the biggest selling point, which we don't normally always see, is the suites, and that's why I think sometimes that, like, we don't, down below we're like, man, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people here, but the suites are packed. Which, granted, that's your big money maker, but also I feel like they're so focused on what's going on at the suites. And granted, I think that's the bit of the city itself that's concerned about that, because they obviously want some kind of money being brought back in, but having the lower levels where the action really is, I think you need to attend to that a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
more.
I, I I wonder how much of this is a pipe dream and how much of this is we just don't have the manpower to do it.
We more than likely probably don't have the manpower for it, and it's more of a pipe dream that we're just discussing. This is probably a discussion that's been had multiple times. They've probably talked about it multiple times, what they want to do differently. They just probably don't have the manpower behind it. But I think going back to the point of spending some, you know what they say, you gotta spend money to make money. You spend some monies on some jerseys, you get some money back. You put that fund maybe not so much into promotions or other materials. Maybe it's just hiring two more people to work. You
Right.
have two more people that are working instead of volunteer work, because how many times do you want to spend, you work 40 hours a week, or you're a high school kid that's looking for a job? Oh, well, sorry, it's volunteer. You're not going to get paid for it. Well, I don't want to do that. Like, granted, there are
Right.
certain things that, game day experience, like what the interns are doing, that you're getting college credit for that. Like, that I understand. You're getting credit
Yeah.
towards that. I'm just saying, I know there's been a handful of times where they want volunteer work for people that are working the concession stands, like, or ushers or something. Like, you have to be able to pay a little bit. The more
Yeah.
people you get in, the faster it is for $1 pierogi night. Instead of having a line down the wazoo, you have more people to get them through the line quicker, so that way
Right.
they can go back and enjoy the game, or you can
Yeah.
spend more on the on-field stuff.
You know, I
Maybe
had
the
I
big
had a
hamster balls.
I had a big conversation with Taylor in the off season because, I get the wristband
Hmm.
and you can only use it at the region,
Yeah.
right? And there were games where I'm standing there in line for an inning and a half to use the wristband.
Hmm.
And now, not only have I wasted my time standing in line, I've missed a bunch of the game that I want to watch. And so, my thing was, hey, how do we change things so that it'll be more successful? And she said, well, did you notice throughout your time that things have kind of changed, that maybe the lines went faster later in the season as opposed to the beginning of the season. And I think that, just like any other kind of business, the bad times are always going to outweigh the positive times.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really didn't notice a difference because I'm still stuck on the fact that I wasted an inning and a half in line,
Yeah,
you know.
you're going to upset the people that actually want to watch the baseball game. They just half inning, go get food
You're going to
real quick.
upset anybody
Well,
because even
I
the people that don't want to watch the baseball game don't want to stand
well,
in line for an
well,
inning.
yeah, you don't want to stand in line, but I'm just I don't think to them it's a bigger issue if they can get their nachos or they can get their popcorn and miss an inning and a half of a game. Unlike some people like us, like that's why like on busy nights I'm like okay I'm just gonna get a soda and I'm gonna
Right.
call it that because I don't want to get stuck because I want to watch the game. I don't want to miss something in the game because I'm stuck in line eating.
I think in Joliet, you can actually order from your phone and they'll bring it out to you.
And but that's another thing I think like you go to Kane County and they had they had the slushy guy, they had a popcorn guy walking up and like we don't have that. And granted, we don't I don't think we have the numbers to do that. And I think
Right.
the stadium itself is so spread out. I don't
I think
think
five guys in the section aren't necessarily going to wait for you to go grab them some hot dogs and get.
no, but I'm just saying like even a mobile ordering system where you can pay 3 or 4 people to just go run food to people. I think that
Right.
would be a nice upgrade to okay, now I don't have to leave my seat, and that's going to be another portion of your business that you're bringing in because when you look back and you go, oh crap, I really don't want to wait in that line and I don't want to miss the game. It's
Right.
okay if I have to wait an inning or two for my stuff to come get me, at least I'm not missing the game.
Well, and so I believe it was Joliet. I looked and I'm like, I really want this pretzel, but the pretzel was like $14.
Hmm.
It was a really big pretzel. And I said, all right, you know what? I bet you they raised their prices on the app. Let me go see what it really costs. And I went up over there. It was 14.50, I think was the price.
Hmm.
I went and stood in line and it was $14. So you're bumping your price up by 50 cents. I'll tell you what, for me to not have to stand in line, I'll pay 50 cents,
Yeah.
per item or whatever it is, you know. So there's ways to make a little bit of money to offset the costs of adding these kind of features. It's just a question of do they want to be able to do something like that?
Yeah, and there's
You
more to it. I
know?
mean, obviously, there's more to it. You gotta probably get the someone to develop it or try to partner with someone. Like, there's more to it than just oh, it should be this simple. We understand it's not,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
just
No.
think this is discussion that I don't think is being had often enough.
You know what? Hey, I'm gonna say they're having this discussion all the time. They're just not coming up with an answer, or
How should I
there's some
say?
roadblock.
How should I say? Not the organization in general. I just think amongst the fan base. I think
Oh
if the
yeah,
fan
yeah.
base is pushing something, I think they're more likely to try to get something done because it could be one of those like, you're sitting there thinking it's like, is this a good idea? I don't know. Is this a good idea? I don't know. And then you have a third party person come in and go, hey, I think this is a good idea. We should try it. I just don't
So
think you're talking amongst yourselves.
right.
And when you talk amongst yourself, you bring a outside source in. I think it changes the aspect a little bit.
So I'm going to add to our list of discussion today. We need to have an alternate team name, alternate jersey,
Mm,
alternate ego, or whatever you want to call it, alter ego type thing. You have the atomic pork chops for Kane
yes.
County. Um, there were
Uh,
talks where we wanted to be the Gatos or the Vamos
yeah.
Gatos, right?
Yep.
Something like that. You have the uh, Lechetas or whatever they are, and the Milkmen.
Well,
Um,
why not? Why not the pierogies? Like, screw it. I don't
or
know. It's
or
right
the
there.
bipolar cats. I
The
mean, why not? Right,
bipolar cats, or I don't know, the steelmen. Something I just
right,
something different. That's when I went to Kane County, they had the atomic pork chop
a hat for it. So like
Right.
you just a different avenue. That's a jersey you could probably auction off, get someone to design it, auction it off, call it a day. Like
Right.
there's a
Right.
lot to it that
But that right there, I think would be awesome.
yeah.
I would put that right up there with the bobblehead, to be honest with you.
I would agree. You have a different jersey, and you could probably just for that day, you don't even have to necessarily like sell like the jersey off the player's back, but have a couple size runs at the store
Right.
of it, and people can
Milwaukee
go
does.
and you people can go buy it just for that. And that's another, you can buy these jerseys just for today if you come to the game. I
Yeah.
think that, and you're getting people to buy the tickets, and two, then you're getting people. It's almost like double dipping because then you have them buying the jersey. And
Right.
as a fan, you
Well,
probably don't want me to hear. You probably don't
with
want me to say that, but I'm just saying that you're double
but with
dipping to a certain
Milwaukee,
extent.
they have those jerseys in their shop
Hmm.
because they know that every year they've got a handful of games or 2, 3 games, whatever it is, where they wear these jerseys and they put them in the shop and they sell.
Well, granted, you could do it like just you pick 5 days a year.
Yeah.
Just say you pick 5 days a year, but you sell those jerseys on those days.
Yeah.
The reason I say that because then that brings it one, yeah, you get to see them
They're
wear the jerseys,
limited edition.
but
Oh,
you throw the extra. You could only get these jerseys on
yeah,
this day when you see them in these jerseys. I think it heightens the,
I
oh, I
agree.
really got to be at this game.
I agree. And I would be really pissed because I'd want to go there and get one of them and they would rope me in.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. It just sometimes you got to make things more enticing, and I just
Yeah.
feel like there's a lack of that.
So here's something else that I had thought about. Instead of releasing a pack of cards at the end of the year, I think you should
So
release a pack of cards at the beginning of the year. And then you should have updates to those cards that you can go into the shop and buy throughout the season
yeah,
to
I
add players that have been added to the team or whatever.
yeah, I think the issue with that is probably it costs a lot of money to. It probably doesn't cost a lot of money, but just do the time and hassle of designing the card, getting the card, then shipping the cards out, and then if you buy a bunch of these cards and a player gets released the next day, I think that I like it. It's a good idea, but I would rather at that point them just sell the cards.
Right.
Like, so you can do at the end of the like just you can do at the end of the year, you can do your card giveaway, but then the next year buy a bulk of them. So the people that did miss out on the giveaway can at least make that back up and buy a set of cards. So like people that like to collect
People are
cards.
selling those cards from last year for $15 a pack on eBay.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that was gonna be my plan this year was because I'm gonna miss that last game is, but that's just the part that sucks for people that actually want to collect the cards and not,
Right.
you missed out on the opportunity of at least selling some of those cards. Like you buy it in bulk, you give a handful for free the next year, even if it only lasts, 3 games. At least those people had an opportunity to buy those sets back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know Milwaukee uh has packs that they have in their gift shop, and if you buy something from the gift shop, they'll throw them in for you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, here's the good and the bad on something like that. The good is if you've got a team where you've got like Kane County has 9 players from last year,
Hmm.
right? Something like that where you've got relatively solid team going year to year, then having those cards the next year is great because you
Yeah.
still have relevant players. You can go get them to sign the cards. It's all great, right? If you got a team like Kansas City where you've got no players from the previous year, then having those cards are kind of like, oh, that's nice, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get them,
Yeah,
right?
that I think that's just more of a less of like a collector's thing
Yeah,
in my
but
eyes is
yeah,
there
you
there's
want to have
some there are going to be some people that are just going to go to the card giveaway just for the card giveaway. But there's going to be some people that are going to buy the cards because they like
to collect cards.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that it's as simple as just because they like for a Kansas City, for example, just because they have a whole new roster this year doesn't mean that if, say, like us as a RailCats fan, we go down to Kansas City and they have a player that was on the RailCats or a player last year that played on Kansas City that's with the RailCats. Now we can go get their card. Like I think it's just
Right.
more of a less of like there's gonna be people that just want a card for the sake of having a team card because they like to collect things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, cards are a touchy subject. You got guys every day that are down there
Yeah.
trying to get autographs on cards, and I'm like, hey, let me see which ones you got. And one of them was I think it was Contreras, and it was the card from the pack last year. And I'm like, I said, oh, you got that one, huh? He's like, yeah, I bought the whole pack for $15 on eBay. I'm like, wish you would have said something. I could have gave you one of mine.
But that's I guess you're
You know,
counteracting that. So I understand, you get a sponsor, that sponsor pays for the cards, the team gives it away. But
right,
the issue is now those people are taking those cards and they're making a profit because more than likely they probably got those tickets for free because you can go to a community night center somewhere and get free tickets for that day's game because I know
right.
there's one guy that does it. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, and he can spin around and he can sell those for $15 and now he made a $15 profit off of your dime versus if you were to sell it in the store for $15, at least the money's going back to the team.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I also see that, at the end of the year, they have a bunch of extra giveaways that they hadn't been able to give away to people. And there's that last year, there was that table where it was like, you want backpack, you want a, dog
Yeah.
feed the dish, what do you want? Here's 55 things of peanut butter, you know.
Well, that we're talking about those promotions that were like, okay, yeah, eh. We're talking about like the hard, even the jersey giveaway,
They
like
had some spares last
oh,
year.
did they? They had some
Table.
spares
Yeah.
last year? I'm just
Yeah.
surprised.
Apparently they had held on to some stuff for people and then they cleared it out at the end.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you know.
I'll eat my hat on that one.
I mean, hey, it's this year. This year they were very big. They were sticklers on how many you could get,
Yeah.
and they were trying to kind of change the way that they did things. But a lot of those giveaways people go out of their way to get the
Yeah.
diehard people.
Yeah, the dollar they'll go and get
And
it. So
hey, my dad has season tickets, and he showed up late. He didn't get a jersey. He was kind of bummed. So
yeah, I mean, but that's the gamble you take. Like I would
then I pulled one of my six out of my bag and said, "Here you go."
well, sometimes you have the connections, which that happens everywhere you kind of go. I mean, I think a couple years ago they had at the White Sox they had their hockey jersey style, and next thing you know, I come to work and one of the guys throws it at me because he grabbed two of them. Like
Wow.
I'm just saying, it's just one of those like it happens, but I think honing down on those ones gives everyone sort of a fair chance to get it. It's not like, you took yours and you didn't give it to someone like you're like hoarding it in your closet like, hey, it's mine.
Oh no, I've had a couple of people that have shown up to games for me, and I've been like, hey, hold on, and pulled one out of my bag and given it to him. He's like, really? This
Yeah.
is wow, you know. So it's nice.
It's the
It's nice.
shock and awe value.
It is. It is. But going back to souvenirs, I think that this is one of those things we need to get Brandon on here for because
Yeah.
Brandon is the guy who has the souvenirs. Have you seen the RailCats hockey jersey?
I have not seen the RailCats
He
hockey
has it.
jersey. Oh, see?
So I mean, uh, we've got to. I'm convinced more now than ever we need to get him on.
Oh yeah, I know he's on his way down to Kansas City right now, so we just haven't linked that up yet. But I'm hoping since after this week they have Sunday and Monday off, maybe that a nice little gap leeway there that something can happen with that. But we'll have to play that one by ear. So that
Let's before we close this up because I think we're getting to that time.
yeah.
Let's give a shout out to some of the players that have done fantastic this past couple of days, past week. I'm going to throw Cooper out there.
Mhm.
Man, that guy he had a game of a lifetime. Uh, one of those games where it was like the cheering fans were out there
Yes.
yelling Coop. I mean, that guy had to have been feeling it. And it wasn't just a one and done thing. He came out there, he's been connecting with the ball, even if it ain't landing. He's been connecting with the ball.
Ye-
And so good job for him, you know.
I mean that's the same game that Howard Rodriguez went 3 for 4. He scored 2 runs and an RBI. The game you're talking about is the Monday win against Lake Country, where he went 3 for 4, scored 3 runs and an RBI. Like he had his breakout game. Uh, I would say, looking at where Jose Contreras started at the beginning of July to where he's at now, I think he can give a bit of a shout out to him. I think Howard Rodriguez deserves one. He's been consistent. I know he had an error in one of the games, but he's been better. I think Miguel Sierra has been a handful better lately. I know he was a big factor um, in a couple of these games with King County, but I think for me, I would have to give it probably more to the whole starting rotation in general because
Okay.
I think this week we saw more positives out of the starting rotation than we saw negatives. So that was just a big improvement, I think, for me would
I can
be
go
the
with
starting
that.
rotation.
So next week, we didn't get to talk about it this week. Next week, I think we need to make some fantasy changes, right? What
Yeah.
happens when we get a guy in? When some of these people that are unavailable, Rincon, when he comes up, what's that look like? Um, we've got a lot sitting there. What kind of changes do we make to see if we can make it more successful?
Yeah,
Uh,
I did mention it in our show notes. That's what I was going to talk about. But I think we got too caught up in the souvenir aspect of it, which,
we did.
it
Fine.
happens. I didn't even get to talk about, what we wanted to expect in the All-Star break. Obviously we're only sending 2 people out of Josh Smith and Nate Alexander, but there was more pressing matters, like souvenirs.
Well, you can tell how good the team's doing by what the conversation is. And if the conversation souvenirs, then
I'm pointing this way because it shows you
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
what can you do? You know,
So before we wrap it up, Chuck, you got any final thoughts?
um, you know, great that it's the All-Star break. Great that these guys get a kind of reset. I'm hoping that uh they come back strong and that we can put together consistency. That's all that we need is consistency.
Hmm.
Be consistent, whether it's consistently good or consistently bad. We need consistency so that we can make changes to make things happen.
Yep. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. Just looking into the future, we have the All-Star game that's starting. This is probably gonna be out Monday, so tonight, or not the Home Run Derby tonight, All-Star game tomorrow, off Wednesday. Then they play Fargo Moorhead at home on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then they have a 2-day weekend with their off Saturday or Sunday and Monday. 2 games off. I say weekend because it is what it is.
We don't
But
have
so
left.
no, we don't have much left. So Fargo comes to town. So we can have a discussion about what the team looks like after that and our little discussion about the roster moves and changes as well. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for the podcast. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this, and go Cats.
All right. Take care, guys.
He gets one high in the air. Left field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cow high.